Hello there. Thanks for stopping by Max's Cards and Dice Dugout. Robert Max here. Hope everyone's doing well. This is episode 126, and we are at Crosley Field for game number 40 of the Strat-O-Matic Baseball Oldtimer Kings King of the Hill tournament, where the current Kings, the 1961 Cincinnati Reds, are hosting the 1954 Cleveland Indians. Got to write the Reds in here. So before we get to the starting lineups, let's take a look at what the Hill looks like coming into this game 40. Of course, the Reds are at the top at 6-3, the first team to reach 6 wins. They're hoping to make that 7, and if they can do that, they would be, at least for now, in the driver's seat to reaching the Goodell Cup Finals, which requires 10 wins. They're, of course, facing the Indians. They're looking for that 6th win. They've had a couple tries at it. Maybe they'll be successful today. And the 61 Tigers are on the deck with the 1960 Pirates in the hole. All right, so let's get to the starting lineups for this game. First, for the visiting 1954 Cleveland Indians, leading off in left field is Al Smith. Batting second at second base is Bobby Avila. Batting third in center field, Larry Doby. Batting fourth, Al Rosen. He's at third. Batting fifth is first baseman Vic Wertz. Batting sixth, right fielder Dave Philly. Batting seventh, George Strickland. He's at shortstop. He's returning from an injury. And batting eighth, catcher Jim Hagan. And on the mound, batting ninth, is Bob Feller. In 1954, he was 13-3 with a 3.09 ERA, but only 140 innings pitched. He is a number 2 hitting pitcher, so he'll get that card. Now for the current Kings, the 1961 Cincinnati Reds, leading off at second base, Don Blasingame. Batting second at shortstop, Eddie Casco. Batting third in center field, Vada Pinson. Batting fourth in right field, Frank Robinson. Batting fifth in left field, Wally Post. Gene Freese bats sixth. He's at third base. Batting seventh is first baseman Gordy Coleman. Catcher John Edwards bats eighth. And on the hill and pitching is Joey J. 1961, he was 21-10 with a 3.53 ERA and 247 innings pitched. He is a number 1 hitting pitcher, so he'll get that card inserted into the lineup. So it looks like we're ready to go here. Joey J's finished his warm-up tosses. Al Smith steps into the batter's box, and we are underway. That's a fly ball to center field. Vada Pinson's under that, makes the catch, and there's the first out. So 1 out, nobody on, top of the first. Indian second baseman Bobby Avila. Yeah, he hits a ground ball. It's going to go right at first baseman Gordy Coleman. He's going to walk that over unassisted for the second out. So 2 up, 2 down for the Indians here on the top of the first. And center fielder Larry Doby. And Doby gets one to go up the middle past Don Blasingame. Rolls into center field, and he has a 2-out single. So Doby's on first with 2 outs. And third baseman Al Rosen comes to the plate. And look out. This is a deep fly ball to left field. It's going to send Post back to the wall. It's over his head, up, out of here, gone. A 2-out, 2-run blast from Al Rosen. Joey J can't believe it, and it's 2-0 in favor of the Indians here in the top of the first. So Jay will get 2 fatigue points for those runs. So 2 outs, nobody on because Rosen cleared the bases. Wally Post didn't have a chance at that one, and here's Vic Wertz. Jay delivers. And And that's a strikeout. Jay comes back with some authority after giving up that 2-out home run. So the Indians get 2 in the top of the first. And with 1/2 inning in the books, it's the Indians 2 and the Reds coming to bat. Jay gets his 3rd fatigue point. So Bob Feller enters this game with a 2-run lead right off the bat. And leading off for the Reds is Don Blasingame. He'll be followed by Eddie Casco and Veda Pinson. And he hits a fly ball to center field to Larry Doby. It's an X-check. He is a 1, and we roll a 2. And Doby makes a nice play out there to prevent an extra base hit for Blasingame, and there's 1 away. Here's Reds catcher, or excuse me, shortstop, Eddie Casco. And Casco gets a hold of 1. Gets past third baseman Al Rosen, goes into left field, and it's a 1-out single. He makes the turn. Casco does, but he holds there at first. So he's on first with 1 out. And center fielder Veda Pinson. Indians lead 2-0 here in the bottom of the first. And that's a strikeout. First strikeout for Feller. They're 2 away. So 2 outs. Man on first. And right fielder Frank Robinson. Here's the pitch. And Robinson hits a ground ball to third. Al Rosen over to Vic Wertz for out number 3. So the Reds get a base runner, but can't bring them home. And after 1 inning, it's the Indians 2 and the Reds 0. Bob Feller gets a fatigue point for completion of the inning. And Joey J's back out here. Top of the second, first batter is going to be Dave Philly, followed by George Strickland and then Jim Hagan. Philly lines this one, but right at Vic Wertz. And there's 1 away. So 1 out. Nobody on. George Strickland. Strickland back in the lineup after an injury. Here's the pitch. He hits a fly ball to right field. And I put that in the wrong place. But Strickland hits a fly ball into right field. And Robinson's under that, makes the catch. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, Frank Robinson. All right, get a hold of yourself there, Max. There's 2 outs. Nobody on. And catcher Jim Hagan. And Hagan lands it. 2-out single. Makes the turn at first, but he's going to hold there. Oh, my goodness. And that's going to bring up pitcher Bob Feller. He hits a fly ball to left field. Wally Post is under that. Makes the catch for the 3rd out. So no runs, but 1 hit for the Indians in the top of the second. And after 1.5, it's the Indians 2 and the Reds 0. Jay gets his 4th fatigue point. Bottom of the second, first batter for the Reds will be Wally Post, the left fielder. And he hits a ground ball to short. It's going to be Strickland over to Vic Wertz for the 6-3 put out and 1 away. Brings up third baseman Gene Freeze. It's 1 out, nobody on. Indians lead 2-0. He pops this one up. It's going to stay in the infield. George Strickland calls everyone off, makes the catch for out number 2. So 2 outs, nobody on. First baseman Gordy Coleman. Feller delivers. He hits a ground ball to shortstop George Strickland. It's an X check. Strickland is a 2. Roll a 6. Strickland makes a diving stop from his knees, fires over to first to Vic Wertz for the 3rd out. And the Reds go 1-2-3. So after 2 innings, it's the Indians 2 and the Reds nothing. Bob Feller gets his 2nd fatigue point. Here in the top of the 3rd, Joey J's back out. And we're back to the top of the order for the Indians. And left fielder Al Smith, he's 0 for 1. Ball 4 is called, and it's a leadoff walk here in the top of the 3rd for Al Smith. So he's on first, nobody out, Bobby Avila. Avila hit a ground ball to Gordy Coleman, his first time up. He's 0 for 1. Now he hits a ground ball to shortstop. It's an X check. And Casco's a 2. We roll a 15. Casco makes a nice play, fires over to Blasingame, who in turn fires a rocket over to Gordy Coleman for the 6-4-3 double play. So now the bases are empty with 2 outs for Larry Doby. Doby singled and scored a run his first time up. Here's the pitch. And another base hit for Doby. Makes the turn. But he'll hold at first base. It's going to bring up Al Rosen, who homered his last time up. And drove in Larry Doby. Jay delivers. This time it's a deep fly ball to center field. That sends Pinson back to the wall, and he makes the catch for the 3rd out. A long, loud 3rd out at that. So a 2.5 in the books. It's the Indians 2 and the Reds nothing. John Jay gets his 5th fatigue point. We go to the bottom of the 3rd. Bob Feller's coming out here. He is at 2 as far as fatigue goes. And it's catcher John Edwards leading off. Hits a ground ball to second baseman Bobby Avila over to Vic Wertz for a quick 1st out. There's 1 away here in the bottom of the 3rd. That's going to bring up pitcher Joey J. It's his first time at bat. Feller delivers. And that's a strikeout. Strikeout number 2 for Feller. And there's 2 away here in the bottom of the 3rd. Back to the top of the order for the Reds, Don Blasingame. Blasingame's 0 for 1. And this is a catcher's card X. Hagen is a 1. Roll of 14. And Blasingame pops that one up. It's drifting over towards the Indians' dugout, where Hagen makes the catch for the 3rd out. And the Reds go 1-2-3 in the bottom of the 3rd. So with 3 in the books, it's the Indians 2 and the Reds nothing. Feller gets his 3rd fatigue point. Joey J's back out for the top of the 4th. He's at 5. First batter he's going to face is Vic Wertz, followed by Dave Philly and George Strickland. Indians lead 2-0, top of the 4th. And Wertz pops this one up. Looks like it's going to stay in fair territory. Gordy Coleman's under that, makes the catch for the 1st out. So 1 away here in the top of the 4th. Nobody on. Dave Philly. Philly's 0 for 1. He pops this one up. This is also going to stay in the infield. Don Blasingame is waving off Vic Wirtz, or excuse me, not Vic Wirtz. Yes, Vic Wirtz. And Blasingame makes, no, not Vic Wirtz. Take timeout. Gordy Coleman. And Blasingame makes the catch for the second out. 2 infield pop-ups, 2 outs. I apologize for that little slip-up. So it's 2 outs, nobody on, and shortstop George Strickland. And that's a strikeout. Strikeout number 2 for Jay. And the Indians go 1-2-3 here in the top of the 4th. So after 3.5, it's the Indians 2. And the Reds nothing. Jay gets his 6th fatigue point. And we go to the bottom of the 4th. Leading off is Eddie Casco. He singled his first time up, was left stranded. Here's the pitch from Feller. Casco pops this one up. Vic Wirtz is under it at first base, makes the catch, and there is 1 away. So 1 out, nobody on. Veda Pinson. Pinson struck out his first time up. Here's the pitch. This time he hits a line drive right up the middle for a 1-out single. So Pinson's on first, 1 away. And Frank Robinson. Robinson grounded out his first time up. He's 0 for 1. Here's the pitch. Ball force called. So Frank Robinson heads down to first base. Pinson moves up to second. And the Reds have runners on first and second with 1 out. And left fielder Wally Post, who grounded out his last time up. Here's the pitch. It's a ground ball back to Feller. It's an X-check. And all pitchers in this basic game are 2s. So we roll a 7. And that is going to be a 1. Nice play by Feller. A 1-6-3 inning ending and rally ending double play. Robinson's forced at second for the second out. And what little threat the Reds had so far has been wiped out by that nice defensive play by Bob Feller, who will get his 4th fatigue point here. And with 4 innings completed, it still remains the Indians 2 and the Reds nothing. Joey Jay's back out. He's at 6 fatigue points. And we're in the top of the 5th, and it's catcher Jim Hagan. He pops this one up. It's going to stay in the infield. Gene Freeze is under that, makes the catch. And there's 1 away here in the top of the 5th. It's going to bring up Bob Feller. He's 0 for 1. But not anymore, because he hits one that gets by Gene Freeze. It scored a hit, and Feller's on first with a 1-out single. It's going to bring up Al Smith at the top of the order. Smith is 0 for 1 with a walk. He hits a ground ball to short. It's an X-check. Casco is a 2. We roll a 17. And that is going to be Casco to Blasingame to Coleman for an inning-ending 6-4-3 double play. They force Feller at second. And that's it for the Indians in the top of the 5th. So after 4.5, the Indians still lead 2-0. Joey Jay gets fatigue point 7. Feller, who is at 4, is out here for the bottom of the 5th. And he's going to face Gene Freeze, Gordy Coleman, and John Edwards. Here's the pitch. It's a ground ball to third base. It's an X-check. Al Rosen is a 3. We roll a 9. And Rosen makes a nice play. Fires over to Vic Wertz for the first out. Some good defense in this game by both teams. There's one away. And Gordy Coleman. Indians lead 2-0. We're in the bottom of the 5th. Ground ball to shortstop. This is another X check. Strickland is a 2. We roll a 16. And Strickland makes a nice play out there. Turns and fires to Vic Wertz for the second out. And the fans are getting to see a defensive clinic from both teams so far in this game. So 2 outs, nobody on for the Reds, and catcher John Edwards. We're here in the bottom of the 5th. The Indians leading 2-0. And that's a strikeout. Strikeout number 3 for Feller, and that's it for the Reds in the bottom of the 5th. So after 5 have been completed, it's the Indians 2 and the Reds nothing. Feller gets fatigue point number 5. We go to the top of the 6th. Joey J, who's at 7, is still out here. First batter he's going to face is second baseman Bobby Avila, who is 0 for 2. Ball force called, and Avila walks down to first base. So leadoff walk for the Indians here in the top of the 6th. Is getting a little movement to occur out there in the Reds bullpen. No one's throwing yet, but there's some activity. Yeah, here's Larry Doby. Nobody on, man on first. Or nobody out, man on first. And that's a strikeout. Gets Doby looking. And there's one away. That is strikeout number 3 for Jay. So man on first with 1 out. Now Rosen, who's homered already in this game. Here's the pitch from Jay. And that's a single. Avila's going to move up to second and hold there, because it was hit to shallow center field. So there's runners on first and second with 1 out. And Vic Wertz. Wertz is 0 for 2. Make that 0 for 3 because he strikes out. Strikeout number 4 for Jay. There's 2 away here in the top of the 6th. Indians have runners on first and second. And it's bringing up Dave Philly. So 2 outs, runners on first and second. Dave Philly, who is 0 for 2. Ball force called, and that's going to load him up. The bases are loaded, 2 outs, and shortstop George Strickland. And now there is some activity in the Reds bullpen. And it's pitcher Ken Hunt that's warming up. 2 outs, bases loaded. Shortstop George Strickland comes to the plate. He's 0 for 2. Jay delivers. And he gets him to strike out. Swings through that one and ends the inning and the threat with strikeout number 4 for Joey J. He gets out of that jam. So after 5.5, the Indians still lead 2-0. And Jay gets fatigue point number 8. Go to the bottom of the 6th. Feller's out there with 5 fatigue points. And he's going to face his counterpart, but that's going to be it for Joey J. Kent Hunt is ready to pitch for the Reds in the top of the 7th. But right now, Jerry Lynch is going to pinch hit for Joey J. Here's the pitch from Feller. And Lynch hits a ground ball to first baseman Vic Wertz. He's going to take that unassisted. And there's 1 out here in the bottom of the 6th. Back to the top of the order for the Reds, and second baseman Don Blasingame, who is 0 for 2. And that's a strikeout. Strikeout number 4 for Feller, and there are 2 away. 2 outs, nobody on, and Eddie Casco. Casco is 1 for 2. He singled his first time up. Here's the pitch. And he hits a ground ball to short. George Strickland over to Vic Wertz. And the Reds go 1-2-3. So it's 6 innings complete. It's the Indians 2 and the Reds 0. Feller gets fatigue point number 5. We go to the top of the 7th. And the new pitcher for the Reds is Ken Hunt. 1961, he was 9-10 with a 3.97 ERA, 136 innings pitched. And put him in here. First batter he's going to face is Jim Hagan. That's Hunt. And Hagan. All right. Top of the 7th, Indians lead 2-0. Here's the pitch from Hunt. Ball 4's called. Not a good start for the reliever. So Hagan's on first with nobody out. And pitcher Bob Feller. And here comes the pitch from Hunt. And Feller squares off the bunt. And he bunts one towards the first baseline. The only play is at first base. And that allows Hagan to move up to second. So successful sacrifice by Bob Feller. And there's 1 away. So 1 out, man on second. And we're back to the top of the order for the Indians. And Al Smith. He hits a ground ball to short. He looks at Hagan, holds him there at second, fires over to first. That's Casco to Coleman for the second out. Nice play there by Eddie Casco. There are 2 away with a man on second and Bobby Avila. We're here in the top of the 7th. Indians lead 2-0. And that's going to score a run. Avila hits one down the right field line. That drives Hagan in. Robinson gets to that ball quickly, and Avila is going to hold it first with an RBI single. Hunt will get a fatigue point for that, and now it's 3-0 in favor of the Indians. So 2 outs, man on first, and Larry Doby. All 3 runs in this game were scored with 2 outs. Here's the pitch. It's a ground ball to shortstop. It's an X check. Casco's a 2. Roll to 13. And Casco makes a nice play. Fires over to Blasingame covering at second to force Avila for the 3rd out. That's a fielder's choice for Doby. But the Indians do pick up another run on Avila's RBI single. And after 6.5 innings, it's the Indians 3 and the Reds 0. Hunt gets a second fatigue point. Bob Feller, who's at 6. I don't want to jinx him, but he's cruising. And leading off is going to be Veda Pinson, who is 1 for 2. This time he hits a ground ball to Al Rosen at third base. He fires over to Vic Wertz, and there's 1 away here in the bottom of the 7th. 1 out, nobody on. And right fielder's Frank Robinson, who is 0 for 1 with a walk. Ball 4's called again. So that's Robinson's second free pass in this game. He's on first with one away. And left fielder Wally Post. Post is 0 for 2. Here's the pitch from Feller. And look out. He hits one to left field. That's going to drop for a base hit. Robinson makes the turn. No, he's held up at third. So the Reds have runners on the corners with one out, trailing 3-0. And here's third baseman Gene Freese. The Indians are playing the infield back. Here's the pitch to Freese. And he hits a fly ball to left field. That sends Al Smith back to the track. He makes the catch. Robinson tags up, and the Reds are on the board. Throw comes back into the infield. Blasingame holds it first. Or excuse me, not Blasingame. Wait a second here. Oh my goodness. That was Post that had the single. Not him. And he holds it first. Freese makes the sack out. Gets the RBI. And it's now 3-1 in favor of the Indians. So man on first with 2 outs. And Gordy Coleman. He pops this one up. Vic Wertz is under that, over near the first base bag. Makes the catch for the 3rd out. The Reds do get on the board on Wally Post's RBI single that scores Frank Robinson. So after 7, it's the Indians 3 and the Reds 1. Feller will get a fatigue point for the run and the inning, putting him at 8. Ken Hunt's back out. And it's third baseman Al Rosen, first batter for the Indians. Here's the pitch. And it's a leadoff hit for Rosen. He makes the turn at first, but he'll hold there. So there's a man on first, nobody out. And Vic Wertz. Wertz is 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. This time he hits a ground ball to first base. And the only play that Coleman has is to get Rosen at second base. So Wertz reaches on a fielder's choice, and there's one away. So there's a man on first with 1 out. And right fielder Dave Philly, who's 0 for 2 with a walk. Ball force called, and he gets another free pass. It's going to put runners on first and second with 1 out. And shortstop George Strickland, who was 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts. Here's the pitch from Hunt. Ball 4 called again, and the bases are loaded. Bases are loaded with 1 out. Catcher Jim Hagan's coming to the plate. Reds are bringing the infield in. Here's the pitch. It's a ground ball to second base, and it's an X check. Don Blasingame's a 3, and we roll a 14. And that's going to score a run. He boots that one out there. Everybody's safe on the E4. And Vic Wertz scores, and it's now 4-1 in favor of the Indians. It's going to bring up pitcher Bob Feller. Bases loaded. 1 out. Infield's back for Feller. And how about that? Feller gets one to go by third baseman Gene Freeze. It's a hit, and it's going to score another run. So Feller helps himself out. Everybody moves up, and Dave Philly scores, and it's now 5-1. And Hunt gets another fatigue point, and there's some more activity in the Reds bullpen. Looks like it's Bill Henry. 5-1 in favor of the Indians. Bob Feller picking up the RBI single. Still only one out. Bases are still loaded. Back to the top of the order, and Al Smith. He hits a ground ball back to Ken Hunt. And that is going to be a 1-6-3 inning-ending double play. So Hunt gets out of the bases-loaded jam, but not before giving up 2 runs. And after 7.5, it's the Indians 5 and the Reds 1. Hunt gets his 5th and 6th fatigue points. And we're at the bottom of the 8th. John Edwards is the first batter for the Reds. And it'll be the pitching spot. He pops this one up. It's going to stay in the infield. Vic Wertz underneath that makes the catch. 1 away here in the bottom of the 8th. All right, so that's it for Ken Hunt. And pinch hitting will be Gus Bell for the Reds. Bill Henry's warming up. He'll be ready to go for the Reds in the top of the 9th. So Bell is going to pinch hit for Ken Hunt. Bottom of the 8th. Okay. So 1 out, nobody on. Here's the pitch to Bell. And he strikes out. That's strikeout number 5 for Feller. And there's 2 away. So 2 outs. Nobody on. Back to the top of the order for the Reds. Don Blasingame. He hits a line drive, but unfortunately it's right at second baseman Bobby Avila for the 3rd out. Reds go 1-2-3 in the bottom of the 8th. And after 8 innings, it's the Indians 5 and the Reds 1. Feller gets fatigue point number 9, as John Lennon would say. So the new pitcher, as mentioned, for the Reds is Bill Henry. In 1961, he was 2-1 with a 2.21 ERA, 53 innings pitched. See if he can stop the bleeding or keep this game where it's at. Give the Reds a bit of a chance in the bottom of the 9th. So he's going to be facing Bobby Avila, first batter. All right, here's the pitch to Avila. And that's a leadoff single. Not the start they wanted from Henry, so it's a man on first, nobody out. It's going to bring up Larry Doby. There's the pitch. It's a ground ball to second base. It's an X check. Blasingame's a 3. We roll a 17. And that's telling me to roll again. We roll a 1. And Blasingame doesn't get to that one. It scored a single. And Avila is able to move over to 3rd. He's held there. So back-to-back singles to start this 9th. And the Indians are looking for more. Runners at the corners, nobody out. Al Rosen, infield is in. Here's the pitch. It's a ground ball to first base. Coleman gives a look over to Avila, holds him there, and goes to the bag unassisted. Doby moves up to second. And that's an unassisted play at first. Or wait a second here. Hold on. The infield was in. Yep, that's what happened. Okay, so Avila holds it third. Doby moves up to second, and Rosen is the first out on the unassisted play by Gordy Coleman. So there's one away. Runners on second and third. Infield is still in. That's a ground ball to short. Once again, Avila is held up there. And Doby's also held at second, of course. And Casco fires over to Gordy Coleman for the second out. So there's two outs. Runners on second and third. The infield's going to come back now. Or play back, I should say. And Dave Philly's the next batter. Here's the pitch from Henry. And Philly pops this one up. Third baseman Gene Freeze has got a beat on that. Waves everyone off. And that's the third out. So the Indians threaten to add to their lead, but are unsuccessful. And after 8.5, it's the Indians 5 and the Reds 1. Henry gets a fatigue point. Bob Feller is back out. He's at 9. There is some activity in the Indians bullpen. And it's Don Mossy, who's one of the doppelgangers in this tournament. He's warming up for the Indians, and he will come in if needed. But right now, this is Feller's game to win. And he's facing Eddie Casco. Here's the pitch from Feller. And that's a leadoff single for Casco. So he's on first with nobody out. Vada Pinson. 1 for 3. Feller delivers. And that's a back-to-back singles. So now there's runners on first and second with nobody out. And Frank Robinson. Oh boy, first and second, nobody out. Indians have a 4-run lead. They lead 5-1. This may be the last pitch, the last batter for Feller. Here's the pitch. A line drive right at second baseman Bobby Avila, and the runners hold. That would have scored at least a run if it got by Avila, but he makes a nice play, and there's one away. Frank Robinson goes back to the dugout shaking his head. So first and second, one out. Don Mossy's ready if needed, but Feller's still out here. One out, runners on first and second while he posts. Feller delivers. And that's a base hit. And let's see about Casco's running. Casco is a 1-15. He's holding up there. He's being held up. So the bases are loaded with one out, and that's it for Bob Feller. Was cruising along, but the wheels seem to start to fall off here. So his relief is going to be Don Mossy. 1954, he was 6-1 with a 1.94 ERA, 93 innings pitched. He's trying to save this one for Feller. And the first batter he's going to face is Gene Freeze. The Reds trail by 4. Freeze can tie this game with one swing of the bat. Let's get Mossy in there. All right. Infield's in. Here's the pitch to Freeze. And that's a strikeout for out number 2. Gets Freeze looking. First strikeout for Mossy. 2 outs. Bases loaded. Infield's now back. And here's first baseman Gordy Coleman, who is 0 for 3. Here's the pitch from Mossy. And that's a strikeout to end the game. Back-to-back strikeouts for Mossy. And the 1954 Cleveland Indians send the 61 Reds a tumbling. The Indians are the new kings of the hill, winning this game 5-1. All right, let's see if we can get some totals here. The Indians, 5 runs on eight hits. Did the Indians commit any errors? I thought there was one, but it doesn't look like it was the Indians. All right, no errors. The Reds, 1 run on six hits. And really thought there was an error in this game. I know there was, and why aren't I seeing it here? Choice. Well, I thought there was an error. Maybe there was. I'll have to really go back and look at this. I don't want to delay the video any longer. So for right now, we'll say there were no errors, but I think there was one. Winning pitcher is Bob Feller. Don Mossy gets the save, and the loss goes to Joey J. And the Indians are the second team to reach 6 wins. So they will be the kings of the hill. And they will take on, I have to reconsult the graphic. They will take on the 61 Tigers in game 41. That's going to do it for this episode. If you hung out with me, I appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed the video. And I'll be back again with another video in the near future. And until then, take care.